What's up guys, it's Ivan, and today I wanted to show you how I edit statement of purpose for graduate school. This example I'm sharing with you today is actually one of my previous clients from last year who came to me via my Fiverr freelancing service that I provide to review statement of purpose for graduate school, and she ended up getting into Columbia University as well as the University of Pennsylvania. This particular example here is for Columbia University, Teachers College, and so we're going to go through each paragraph here and I'm going to read to you the comments that I made per section and how we were able to craft a better structured, a more powerful statement of purpose that eventually got her into this Columbia program. My objectives for graduate study are to pioneer ways for students to learn, grow, and expand in emotional literacy and relational wellness through psychoeducational curricula based in emotional and cognitive development. These objectives will be achieved by designing, developing, and teaching pedagogy, experiential curricula that will include modules such as emotional awareness, how to identify and name internal thoughts, feelings, and emotions. Cognitive and emotional functions of choice and behavior, how thoughts, beliefs, feelings, and emotions drive behavior and create and contribute to our experiences. Relational health impacts and outcomes, how choices and behavior driven by feelings and emotions create and impact relational dynamics. And emotional regulation and expression management, how to regulate identified feelings and create and implement ways to safely express and manage emotions through modalities such as circling, creative writing, storytelling, music, dance, and art therapies. So let's read some of the comments that I made for this introductory paragraph. So one of the comments was, I said, which students? So it's important for the applicant to be very detailed and specific in every aspect of the statement of purpose. So even here, like, they're not mentioning what type of students, who's the population of students they are trying to impact. So I'm asking which students, who's your target population, and then I mention for competitive graduate programs such as Columbia, they want to know which student populations you plan to impact with your work. Are these students low income, foster care students? Are these students Latino, Asian, African Americans? For the purpose of a statement of purpose, you need to be very specific because one person cannot transform educational experiences for all students. Every group of people and every individual with multiple marginalized identities need tailored resources to succeed. So that's why it's important for you as an applicant to be very specific with your target population. The next note that I made was, what do you mean by expand in emotional and cognitive development? Maybe replace this with the word improve their emotional literacy. So I'm asking more detailed questions so the reader could dive deeper into what they really mean. When you think about emotional and cognitive development in this case, that's a very broad subfield, right? So you want to be detailed in terms of what you mean by that, how that's going to be shaped with your graduate studies ambition. Then I said, this is too much for an introductory paragraph. The committee wants to know what are your career goals, interests, and how the program will help you achieve those goals and interests. Later in the statement of purpose, you will be specific with the design of your curriculum, right? So right off the bat, this person was saying like, here's what I want to do in terms of impact, how I want to design these programs, and they were being very detailed about the design. In the introduction, that's not the place to do this. You can do this later on in the statement of purpose once you give the committee an idea of why you want to go to graduate school. Then I said, given the page limit described by the prompts, 2 to 3 double space pages, I would cut this out and simply state social emotional learning in classrooms. SEL will encompass all these definitions. So as you can tell, this student here was writing definitions for every little aspect of cognitive and psychological development, right? But for the purpose of a statement of purpose, you need to be focused on one topic and not every single topic about the subfield. One of the things that I like to provide to my clients is examples of ways in which they can recraft their introductions. For example, here's an example of how I recrafted this applicant's introduction based on what they wrote. My career goal is to design and facilitate psychoeducational curricula based on emotional and cognitive development in order for students to learn, grow, and expand in emotional literacy and relational wellness. Specifically, I plan to, then I give in parentheses, I told them to expand here. So insert what your specific goal is. Here you could mention your organization and expand to K-12 sector. The Master of Education in Curriculum and Instruction at Columbia University will provide you with a theoretical knowledge and practical experience to transform educational spaces for vulnerable populations. And then I said, you need to have an introductory paragraph that describes your goals, interests, and program/institution you're applying to. This will help the reader know what to expect for the rest of the statement of purpose. If you become one of my clients, I provide you with examples and then I provide you with parentheses in terms of what you need to fill in to make that example you and your experience and your lived experiences. So let's jump into the next paragraph. So here's what the client wrote. I plan to utilize my education, training, skills, and experience to begin offering this curricula as a comprehensive learning program through my organization because I matter to emerging adults ages 17 to 27. Subsequently, I plan to design an adaptable version of the curricula that will catalyze student learning for secondary environments 6 through 12 in my hometown of Maryland as a health class requirement. Ultimately, my goal is for BIM to become a tool of transformation in educational spaces at scale. So with this paragraph, I kind of at the top, I said condense it to one sentence and add it in the example introduction that I provided her. So I want her to be telling the committee right away her ideas for implementation of her nonprofit. I want her to wait a little bit later to describe more in detail how she first came to develop this organization and then how she wants to implement it and how Columbia University is going to help her acquire the skills and knowledge to implement that in a K-12 setting and work with different partners at the district level. So one of the things that this applicant did is it seemed like they used the prompt to write like headings or titles for every paragraph. In a statement of purpose, it should be one whole story. It shouldn't be broken down into different categories. So for example, here she put, how will a master's in curriculum and teaching degree help me achieve my goals? So take that out and just write it out, right? So here's what she said. For the past several years, I have been reimagining our systemic educational system as it relates to emotional health and literacy. Emotional health, literacy, and relationship wellness, critical strands of human development, are absent from our educational curriculum. In effect, the exclusion of emotional health and literacy, germane to holistic wellness, have contributed to the underdevelopment of our youth, socially and relationally. What is the solution? In 2017, I founded BIM with the mission to educate emerging adults in emotional literacy and relationships. This mission is personal to me as I grew up in abusive environments as a child, abandoned by both my parents by age 5, placed in foster care, and left to parent myself since age 17. It would take decades to find ways to develop myself and locate spaces that offer the education and support necessary to transform my thinking and emotional landscape. A question I have been ruminating on is, equipped with the skills to identify and regulate our feelings and emotions in a healthy way, how could the quality of our lives and relationships be different? I am leaning into the curiosity of discovering the social conditions we can create by introducing and implementing a fresh perspective in education. By and large, my research will begin exploring this question as a guide to create innovative, thoughtful, and impactful solutions that will introduce change and evolution in the fields of education and school culture. The breadth of knowledge, guidance, feedback, research, and directional learning required to pioneer this unique undertaking is why the Master's in Curriculum and Teaching degree is essential to achieve my goals. Okay, so just by rereading this again without even looking at the notes that I made to this applicant, I could tell that something I might say in the comments is that this is too kind of philosophical, research based. The committee in the statement of purpose wants to know about you and your experiences. They don't care what the research already says. They don't care that you read articles about this topic. They want to know, why are you applying to graduate school? What experiences do you have to create this change? How have you already tried to impact these communities? How have you failed? What did you do to overcome those failures? And what do you still need to know in graduate school to be able to make that impact at a higher capacity? So these are the questions that the committee is seeking to learn about in your statement of purpose. So let's jump into the feedback. So for one of the paragraphs, I said, this is fluff. Get to the point. Tell the stories behind your interest in emotional and cognitive development. Your stories/experiences responses should showcase these gaps rather than you stating them. Remember, a SOP is a document that showcases your goals, interests, and reasons to pursue a graduate degree. It should be about you. Then I said, you never tell the reader what your organization has accomplished, who has it served, and how is your program facilitated. I am confused as to if this is an active organization or just an idea. You need to make it clear to the committee how the program has impacted. Mention something like, through BIM, I have facilitated over 20 workshops that have helped over 100 low-income young adults learn how to regulate their emotions. Insert what your organization has done with youth. Essentially, the committee wants to learn what impact you have already made and where those gaps in your knowledge and skills are and why you want to attend graduate school. So don't act like you're an expert. Don't act like you know everything, that you've done all these great accomplishments. They also want to know where your gaps in that knowledge and skill sets are, because obviously you're applying to grad school for a reason, right? And that reason should be for you to learn something new, for you to advance your career, for you to learn how to do better research, for you to know how to, develop new programs. And so you have to showcase what your attempts are to impact and where you have failed, and how a grad program like Columbia is going to help fill those gaps. Then I said, this should be its own paragraph. It should be fleshed out and in more detail. I would write how not having social emotional skill sets led you to not be able to self-regulate your emotions and actions if that was the case. Try to make a connection between your personal experience and your career goals and interests. So here I'm telling the applicant that they should dedicate one paragraph to their personal experiences, but make sure that if you end up doing that you select one story. Don't try to write your whole life story in one paragraph. Choose one story that directly relates to your career goal and the theme for your statement of purpose, and use that to describe it in detail, and how maybe schools in this sense weren't able to help someone like you become a better person, or in this case, work out your social emotional development, right? So you want to make sure that your personal experiences are tied to what the program you're applying to, but also your career goals. Another comment I made for this set of paragraphs was, consider deleting this because it sounds like fluff. Was this question addressed in your thesis? If not, I do not see this fit with the statement of purpose. The committee wants to know the limitations of your work and which questions you were not answered with that research you conducted that you want to continue to explore in the graduate program. So I knew that this person had written a thesis, and so I was trying to help them decide if the questions they were asking based on their personal experiences, if they actually sought out these answers through a research thesis. And I was kind of asking them, like, if you had answered these questions in your undergraduate thesis, then I would move this paragraph and these questions to when you explain your undergraduate thesis. So let's move on to the next section, and the section is titled My Academic Background. I have journeyed through both unconventional learning and traditional academia to gain a wide variety and unique combination of education, training, and experience. In my undergraduate studies as psychology and social sciences major at the Harvard University Extension School, I built on my passions for education by mastering diverse theoretical approaches to cognitive behavior and social sciences. These included findings used by psychologists across areas of self and identity, as well as adolescent development. In my final semester, January 2020, my research project proposal application to complete an undergraduate thesis was accepted. Under the supervision of Dante Spetter, PhD, research advisor in behavioral sciences to master's degree candidates at Harvard University, my research found that the effects of systemic discrimination in mental health care, which have created mental health disparities suffered by Black Americans, are a result of lack of available resources and adequately trained professionals to educate and treat racial trauma. These findings showcase a need to create educational spaces where Black Americans can learn information, tools, and skills to better support their mental health and well-being. So as you can tell, I had a difficult time reading through this paragraph here. It is clear that the applicant didn't take enough time to, edit their statement of purpose before they sent it off to me so I can provide the feedback. So it was really hard for me to really digest what they were trying to tell the committee. So let's look at some of the comments that I made. So I said, again, this is all fluff. Remember, you only have 2 to 3 double-spaced pages to convince the committee that you need to be accepted into the program. Start this paragraph with, under the mentorship of Professor Dante Spetter from, and then I said, insert department name, I worked on a research project where I explored, analyzed, examined, insert topic, utilizing a qualitative interview-based approach. I found ... So one thing that I do notice from a lot of the clients that I do have is that they try too hard, use fancy terms, or formulate their sentence structures to be very fancy. And the committee doesn't care about that. They want you to be clear. So be clear in your statements and write out what you did. Be simple. Say, here's who I worked under, here's who my mentor is from this department. They don't care what accolades the professor has. They don't care about that. They care about what the research you conducted was and what were the questions, what were the results, implications, and how this experience has motivated you to pursue a graduate degree at Columbia. So other comments I made. You do not need this. It is implied that your proposal was accepted if you are working on the project. They will see when you started and completed the work in your resume/CV. So another note that I want to make is that you don't need to repeat your resume or CV. Don't write what skills you gained. Don't write a lot of the details that you would write in the resume. They want to know, again, the research questions, the methodology, results, implications, and why you're applying to graduate school. Then I said, you need to explain to the reader the topic and or questions, purpose of the work. Do not just go to the findings because as a reader, I do not even know what the topic is, nor what method you used that led to your findings. Show that you have a command for the research process by explaining every aspect of the research process. This is a key point to make, especially if you're applying for a PhD program. In a PhD program, you are expected to learn how to conduct research, or at least have some vague idea of how to conduct research. And the way that you showcase this through a statement of purpose is by providing the committee with an idea of how you conducted your research, of every aspect of the research process. So don't just jump right into your findings. Show them exactly how you conducted the work in a short paragraph, and that's going to show them that you know how to conduct research. So this next section here is titled My Professional Background. My professional background is having since pursued various training, education, and volunteer programs in psychology, teaching, and personal development. I now use my background as a tool to facilitate the healing of others. My partnership with the House of Ruth Maryland, one of the nation's leading intimate partner violence centers serving thousands of battered women and their children, made me further realize the true impact of education on individuals' well-being. I served as a volunteer educator for psychoeducational support groups that assist residents in trauma recovery. I also designed and facilitated interactive workshops on topics such as shame resilience, holistic wellness, and self-development. HORM reported increased participation and attendance among community residents while I was there, as well as revitalized attendance of former dropouts. Since 2013, I have worked with small groups and individual clients in areas of exploring shame, vulnerability, courage, failure, and resilience. These key experiences demonstrate my professional background and passion for curriculum design and teaching. Even so, my professional desires still require skills to inform and enhance my current knowledge and curriculum designer. Alright, so some of the points that I made here, delete and get to the point. So you want to avoid fluff. Eliminate fluff when you're writing a statement of purpose. Get to the point and get to the point of what that point is for your statement of purpose. Then I said, you do not need to speak about the impact. What were the outcomes for these people and how do you know your services worked? As it is framed, it sounds like you are reciting your resume. The committee wants to learn about the impact. Tell a story about the small groups you facilitated. What were they like? What did the students do? What did you notice about your practice and the curriculum? Where were the gaps in the work? What did the students not get that you wish they did? Then I said, what skills are you referring to? The committee wants to know that so that they can get a better sense of how the program will help you gain those skills. Explain in the example where those gaps are. Did you struggle with facilitation? Was the curriculum handed to you and was expected to be taught in a certain way? Did the curriculum lack cognitive development pieces? When you re-edit your statement of purpose, focus on this experience versus your undergraduate experiences. So as you can tell, one of my key points here was that the applicant was reciting their resume and CV. Again, they want to know the story behind those experiences. They don't really care about like the numbers. You know, she said in here that numbers increased while she was working there. You can put that in the resume and CV. Here they want to know, how was that curriculum developed? How was it implemented? What were the challenges? And what did you do to mitigate those challenges? And what did you wish you could have done so you can do a better job, and how grad school is going to help you do that, right? So again, revert back to your main thesis that you wrote in the introduction. All right, so this next paragraph is about the why Columbia, why this curriculum program, right? So she writes, along with building on my existing knowledge and credentials in education, experiences that led me to apply to the MACURR program at the Teachers College were my search for a graduate program clearly aligned with my vision and goals to design and teach a curriculum that would impact and forge new pedagogy pedagogy. Moreover, I desire to be part of a cohort that will provide me with unique opportunities to attain the foundational knowledge, skills, and relationships to lead transformative change in the field of education and curriculum. I also found the Teachers College diverse educators' research pursuits to align with my interests. In particular, I find Dr. Lamaris Caraballo's work in her youth and educator program, Ciphers for Justice, empowering students to engage in their own learning combined with youth-led research, fascinating. I feel her experience with youth and education can guide me in creating effective ways to integrate my research and curriculum and pedagogy development. I am also intrigued by Stephanie Dawn McCall's scholarly interest in curriculum theory and design. I feel her extensive knowledge and instruction on curriculum design approaches and connecting teacher theory to practice is essential to my foundational learning in blank. I believe these key faculty members will be instrumental in helping me design a course of study that will drive my research interests and achieve my academic and professional goals. Lastly, the opportunity offered as the integrated project for MACURR students to design and direct a discipline and significant inquiry into an issue, problem, and or question of an interest that expands the purpose and intent from my educational and social values and professional aims elicits emotion. For me, this opportunity will bring full circle the 13 years of personal investment into my personal development, education, teaching, practice, and desire to create change in the world through service. So for this, I decided to just give her an example based on what she wrote that she can take with her to expand on. So here's what I wrote for her to expand on. The Master of Education in Curriculum and Instruction at Columbia University is the ideal institution for me to achieve my goals. I am excited to work under the mentorship of Professor Lamaris Caballo, whose work with youth and education programs complements my interests. Her work with Ciphers for Justice will help me learn how to create effective research-driven curriculum and pedagogy. Moreover, Professor Stephanie Dawn McCall's scholarship that focuses on curriculum theory and design will help me inform the curriculum I plan to design for my organization because I matter. Her extensive expertise on the integration of teacher theory to practice will provide me with foundational knowledge I plan to incorporate with my organization. Finally, I am intrigued at the opportunity to design and conduct my own project that will build on my existing project with BIM. And then I said, here you need to explain what this project will look like and how the program resources will help you build on your current project with BIM. This could be a good opportunity for you to discuss your goal of including the curriculum in public schooling. Maybe during the graduate education you want to design this curriculum and establish a business plan to start integrating it into public schools. When you are writing the why this program, why this institution paragraph, you want to be simple again. Don't write all these fancy words that this applicant was trying to do based on, I'm guessing, the website. They took what the website said, integrated into the SOP. Yes, you should do that, but only pick out key terms. Don't try to be too fancy. Get to the point. Be direct. How can this faculty help you reach your goals? What research do they conduct? And how can that research be applied to your career goals? Alright guys, so at the end of the statement of purpose for the feedback that I provided an outline of the statement of purpose they can follow because they needed a lot of work with structure. So I provided them with the introduction and what to include in there. I provided what they could include in paragraph 1 based on their information from the rest of the statement of purpose. I provided probing questions for paragraph number 2, same with paragraph number 3, paragraph number 4, and paragraph number 5, as well as a conclusion. So here's one way that I help out my clients if they need a lot of support with structure of their statement of purpose. Alright guys, so that concludes my video on how I edit statement of purpose for graduate school. If you need support editing your statement of purpose for graduate school, click on the link down below in the description where my Fiverr account is linked. I look forward to working with you. Thank you for watching this video and I will see you in the next video.